So what are we doing today? There we go. The restream's working. And we'll get started. So what we are going to talk about in about 15 minutes is the breath we did on Tuesday. See how you went with that. But others that are on the restream don't know what on earth we're talking about. So we won't talk about that until we go. Okay, yes. Well, I'm just getting my phone up so I can see that. So, what did I have planned to tell you today? I guess for the live, I want to touch on some of the work that is available for you to access. So if you want to call, let me just see. If you want to call, thank you. What would I do without you? All right. There we go. All right. So those of you already working with me, disregard, although this is slightly different work. It's about, preparing to embark on a journey through a kaleidoscopic human nature. You like that? You like that one? Oh, Rebel likes that one. Right? So I talk about the color. I talk about all the aspects of the self, all the aspects of the people, the human, of you, of me. Imagine that each of us is walking, talking, living, breathing symphonies of energies. And some of you don't need to imagine because you have an understanding of that, right? Or do you? So here's where there's a shift. We're all playing different tunes. You've heard me talk about the 72,000 nadis, their energy lines, right? We have this divine, grand orchestra of personality, of traits. And we've talked about the rhythms, right? The 5 rhythms: water, wood, metal, fire, earth. And these aren't just fancy names or labels, fancy labels, to make you feel good about yourselves. They're the very essence of how we move, how we think, how we feel. So picture this. Picture or imagine the water type, right? I have a lot of water. I'm fire and water. Right? Water is a fluid and mysterious. Water flows around obstacles with ease. It can also freeze. It's also very, very deep, but it can be shallow as well. It can be cold, it can be warm. Right? And there's wood. And wood is standing tall and proud. So, all of these rhythms have a a sound, how our voice sounds relates to our rhythm, how we move, our physical body, how we stand can relate to our elements, our rhythms. So we have this wood standing tall and proud, reaching for the sky, but can sometimes be inflexible. And we have fire, right? Fire is usually the life of the party, burning bright, potentially out of control. Sometimes fires can be known for exhausting all the oxygen in the room because there's so much energy. Okay? So, when you know your element, your rhythm, you can navigate yourself and others a little. You can sort of see why people react to you the way they react, right? So there's these elements. Earth grounds us. It's nurturing, but occasionally, very occasionally, stuck in the mud, especially if there's some water around, creates more muck. So earths can be compassionate, but they can also be over compassionate, right? To the point where there's a frustration with them because they become meddling, they're meddling in your business. Then we have metal, sharp and precise, cutting through the, the nonsense, cuts through, but sometimes very rigid, cold and rigid like steel, right? Metal. So we have these rhythms. Do you know your rhythm? Not only do we have rhythms, so we're born with a rhythm. We're born with these elements. So same thing, interchangeable. Some people call them elements, 5 elements. Some people call them the 5 rhythms. I tend to call them the rhythms because I'm theatrical, right? We have these rhythms and how they impact positively and not so positively. I mentioned the other day that fire finds it difficult in humidity. It's actually hard to breathe for a fire element because the dampness in the air dampens us. So if you know that, don't move to a humid. No, just so I've been in high humidity lately. I've been all right. I navigated it, but in the past it's been really difficult. It literally is hard for us to breathe. So these rhythms, these elements, you're born with them, and you have the rhythms of life. So they move and shift. So I could be a fire element, born into a fire element. My primary element is fire. I might have a secondary of water. And I could be in a metal season of my life. Okay? You got the picture? It's a nutshell today. It's just a nutshell. And then we have what? Enter the stage, adaptive strategies. What are adaptive strategies? There are protectors. They're these like cloaks or armor that we've worn since childhood. Our own personal invisibility shields or cloaks. And I've been talking a lot lately around our protective strategies or adaptive strategies or our which link to our attachment styles. Okay. And they come from, well, there's the statistics shift, but 50% of the population, 51% of the population have secure attachment, meaning in the face of threat and danger, they're pretty regulated. They don't need to regulate because they are. Their stuff's not coming in and sabotaging and taking over and creating barriers and whatnot. However, the statistics shift. So 50% of humans, and these are, as I said, the statistics shift slightly, but have attachment styles that can create some challenges for us as we move through the world, right? So these adaptive strategies, we can label or categorize into ways of knowing that can be helpful in how you move through the world, just like the rhythms. But they're a different part of you. So we've got the watcher, for instance, right? And the watcher silently observes from the shadows. The protector can be armored up against the world. The seeker, that style is desperately searching for connection, spends their life looking for their parents unconsciously. The connector is clinging to others, very, very cling. What can I say, right? Cling on to others for dear life. And the achiever. And the achiever's out there climbing that ladder to where? To somewhere. They never reach the end. So all of these strategies, and there's many different names, and I put a link in the chat if you want to go deeper into these for yourselves. But they all impact how we are in the world and what parts of those create barriers to what we want or what we don't want. So I'm going to layer another layer. So we've got the rhythms, we've got the adaptive strategies, and what else would be really cool to know about? I did mention it the other day. Was anyone listening? Our sensory stress styles. So another ingredient into the personal or personality cocktail is our sensory stress styles. What are they? Some of you have learned them. I put a talk out a while ago. Let's see if I can find it. Back out to her teaching on sensory styles. I'm calling them sensory stress styles because they are the energies that come out when you're stressed. When the heat's on. So we have a visual And when we're stressed, and that visual, so we've got these 4 stress styles, right? And they're held in our aura, in our field. And there's 4 lines of energy in our field around us within the aura. It's not the aura itself, right? There's different bands within the aura. And the one that's closest to you physically is your primary sensory style, secondary, tertiary, so on, right? So the first one is the one that is strongest when you're in stress. Make sense? Sort of? Okay. So this dances with your adaptive strategies. So let's just go over. So we have the visual, who, when stressed, is seeing only their perspective in high definition. They're seeing what they see, but it may not be the truth. It's like this hyper awareness. Or the tonals, who hear threats in every whisper. Also, when somebody's speaking to you and you're stressed, if you're a tonal, you can be hearing words that aren't said. And so if you're the partner of a tonal, you might be going, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. And they're saying, right? So that could be all you need to know today. Or a visual, right? But yes, hearing in between the spaces. Or a kinesthetic, right? I'm a kinesthetic. My primary is kinesthetic, secondary tonal, right? So when I get stressed, I feel all the feels all the time. I feel, yeah, right? Any of you? Who has sensitivities? Are you a kinesthetic? Interesting. Do you remember on Tuesday? Who was here Tuesday? You were here Tuesday because I can see you, but I don't know who else is watching. And I talked about my feet, the sensitivity of my feet. That makes sense, being a kinesthetic, that if there's extra stress in the system, I feel everything. I'm just going to move you there so I can see you straight on, because I'm looking over there. Looking at you. All right. So where was I up to? Kinesthetics. What have I forgotten? Our digital friends. Digital. They're computing solutions while the rest of us are still loading the problem, right? Now, in saying all of that, you're all of them. In saying that, you have visual, tonal, kinesthetic, digital in your field. We are all of them. Sometimes we're doing that. Sometimes we're feeling. Sometimes we're hearing in between the spaces. Sometimes we're seeing from perspectives that no one else is seeing, right? From our stress response. When we're not in our stress response, they're all working, singing, playing their music together. Okay. So it gets interesting. These systems aren't just these systems aren't just parallel universes. They intersect. They're intersecting dimensions of who you are, who we are. So if we get a water type or a water rhythm, and that water rhythm might take on the watcher's cloak, right? So we've got water rhythm, watcher's adaptive style. And they might respond with a digital precision when stressed. Or the fire type might be wearing the seeker's mask. And their ears are tuned to every tonal nuance in a crisis. So I've been talking about these types of energies and aspects of self for as long as I can remember. But how we bring these particular ones together, how we understand how we are and why we are the way we are, right? But why should we care about this intricate dance of personalities? Why? How's any of this going to help us? Do you even understand, you know, the magnificence of what I just shared and how that all goes together? Some of you do. It's a massive cheat sheet to the codes of the game of life. It's like having that cheat sheet. It got really dark in here. And so I guess imagine having that internal GPS or that mapping system to navigate relationships. Because the stress, the sensory stress styles alone, understanding that is a game changer for most people. I used to teach that in corporate team building days for the couple of organizations I used to work for many, many moons ago. And I would bring in the sensory styles, you know, and have all the employees working out how they interact with other members of their team. And then starting to look at what they were, what their co-workers were or are, and how they could communicate more effectively, understanding what they may need to do to be understood clearer and more, you know, conscious communicating, and vice versa. Because if you've got a digital boss and you're a kinesthetic, you speak with emotion. You're dramatic, right? Oh. And then you whack some fire in there and you're all like, it's, you know, take up the whole room. So by knowing that, if you feel misunderstood, it may be because in certain situations, if that person's a digital, they can't hear your emotive language. They are more factual. And so it's not right or wrong. It just is how it is. And so if you are aware of that, you can start to shift how you speak to consciously communicate. Right? It's a game changer. That's why we had harmonious teams where I worked. I worked that out about my boss. He couldn't I mean, he knew me, he's known me forever. But if there was very stressful decisions being made and I used emotional language, couldn't hear me. And I worked it out. So I shifted it to get the needs of those children met. I shifted my communication so that he could hear me. Right? So that's just two. I'm not going to go into all of them today. This is just a bit of an overview, right? So, are there any questions about that? Right. You could in your personal relationships, anticipating your partner's reactions before they know they're reacting. Not for manipulation, for conscious communicating, conscious relating, diffusing conflicts at work by recognizing not just what people are saying, but how their very essence is communicating to you or to people around you. So this isn't like just self-help or just one little piece. It's a message there and it's sort of pop up. Anyway, how do visuals and tones communicate? We can go into it. So tonals are hearing what's not said, and so if a tonal's hearing and reacting to what's not said, and a visual is perceiving from a completely different angle, there's complete miscommunication. How they're speaking, one's more, again, we've got two that are more rational and two that are more emotive, right? So visual is sort of rational is not the right word, but tonal and kinesthetic is sort of on that same side of the graph or whatnot. So if we look at the visuals, are like outward focused. Digitals are inward focused. Tonals, they have an emotional band, and a kinesthetic have a feeling band. So we've got a feeling, emotional, outward focused, and inward focused. They're the four bands of the processing style, the information processing style: kinesthetic, tonal, visual, digital. That's not necessarily answering the question, but so what did you say? Visual and tonal. So tonal, to this. With the visual, the emotional stress release helps support their bodies. I think I'm gonna have to do, well, see, I'm going straight into it, and what I'm not going to do is go deeper into it when I've got to do our WMN. So we can go into that there. But if you want to find out more, if you want to find out what your styles are, but particularly working on what your core challenge is, and go into that, because knowing the superficial shouldn't say this, is going to shoot myself in the foot. We can have all of these, and I've taught all of this numerous times, right? And some of you have done one or the other or the other. What I'm saying is how they all come together. And so if I go into the, I guess, fall into the whole of one piece, right? It's the, and some of you will understand this, it's the spiritual ego. What we want to do is pull it all together. So we have, how will I describe this? I haven't taught you this before. So we have the adaptive strategies that are like that, I guess the core of the fear of fear, right? They're the map maker, your past selves, all your ages have developed this map that you're navigating when you're trying to navigate. Okay, so you've got that, right? So you've got the earth, the lower density consciousness, adaptive strategies, how we as humans are protecting ourselves from our fear of fear. So they're cloaks, they're masks, they're armor. Okay? Our rhythms we're born with. We come in as a rhythm. We're not born with the adaptive strategies. Our environment impacts our adaptive strategies. How we're nurtured, how we're, what our experiences are as infants, and, our relationships. That's why we talk about relational injury, developmental wounding. That's that area. When we're talking about our elements or rhythms, you come in with those. And once you're in this world, you navigate the development of those rhythms, right? Following? What's the other one? Adaptive strategies, rhythms. Totally lost the name. Sensory styles. Sensory styles. And the sensory styles you could, so we've got the bottom of the triangle of earth and the top of the triangle of heaven. So the sensory styles sort of in the center there. And so when we work with our adaptive strategy or our trauma, our relational injury, when we have, it's not just an understanding, we're conscious and we're consciously meeting our fear with love. That's at that grounded area, right? And some of you know this, you've experienced it directly yourselves. And I know this to be true, that when we work on those, we can go higher. We can traverse further and more expansively than ever in the past, right? Because we're so anchored once we are navigating those relational injuries and being conscious of them and doing the work at that level propels you further, right? So we've got those two ends. That's why when I'm looking at what will serve you, it's the amalgamation of the challenges, the spiritual challenges and the earth challenges. Both ends of, or both both ends, both triangles of the triangle of the earth experience and the triangle of the spiritual experience. But unconditional love, or divine intuition, is the navigating of both of those triangles. Not just trying to go to the heavens or your spiritual development stuff, but navigating the realms of the muddy, water-covered, beautiful earth. But it does have that when you're walking through the mud, what that feels like, right? When you're walking through a challenge or a stage or a state. And so the two ends of the spectrum of the pole, the heaven and the earth. And then all the other stuff that's in between. So the sensory styles are how you relate in stressful times. So that's that sort of in the middle. Does it make sense? Of course it doesn't, because I haven't taught it to you before like this. You're all saying, yes, it makes sense, but I'm saying, okay, good job. But I don't expect it to make sense, because I haven't taught it, and this isn't a teaching on it. This is a introduction to those of you that are intrigued around these and how they play out for you. How they play out for you. What is the mask? What is the cloak? It's the difference between playing checkers and three-dimensional chess. So if you do want to know more about it, so how particular, I do have it. I'll have to find it. I do have it's about an hour teaching on the sensory styles. And it goes through all the different ones and different relations and all that sort of stuff. But, what am I trying to say? It's not just one. Any of this, so people go, oh yeah, I'm a Scorpio, or I'm a Virgo, or I'm, and live by the star sign. But there's other star signs. Like there's Western, there's all different cultures have different ways of, so it's not like there's right or wrong, but it's about having a broader view to bring your focus in to the core. So if I'm working with you one-to-one, and I say, okay, what are you bringing? And you bring something that's challenging you, right? That's not what we're working on. That's the surface of what you think the story is and how it feels, right? And these certain strategies will get involved and start playing with you like a puppet. But what the battery, or where that's plugged into, is that core wounding. And some of you will talk about ancestral wounding, right? worry about your own first, because all of that links anyway. I mean, you could go and do that, but if you work on your own, and some of you know when you start to work on your own, spiritual development, it's helping your families. It helps your lineage. So that's how it sort of plays out, those three levels, which beautifully connect to the three intuitions and the three minds and, fear of love, unconditional love, all of that. They all have different aspects, like the love and fear, the different poles. A fire, when a fire is out of balance, is really fast, chaotic energy. And all of those. So it's not a class on that today. I just wanted to introduce the reference of how these can connect and can help you work with your particular expression in life, right? So for the live, we'll wrap it up and we'll go over to our mastermind because time's getting away from us. But if you want to know the difference between those games of checkers and chess in your interactions, seeing the matrix of human behavior, choosing your moves with the wisdom of the Grand Master rather than, just playing jacks or something. There's a link in the scroll down and you'll see a link there. You can book a call and I'll discuss with you how that could play out for you and how you could move forward with it. So discover your rhythm, right? The rhythms that you're born with. Unveil your strategy. The music or the tone that you're conditioned in, and tune into your stress style, which is the combination of it's held in the energy of you. All of them are, but when you're stressed, one comes forward. If you're not aware, if you're aware, if you're conscious, they all work together. If not, one will come forward. Just like the adaptive strategies, you'll have ones that come forward and try to run the show. So I think it's very interesting, and I'm still being shown how, I'm listening every day, and I get shown certain codes and how things come together. And I'm showing that these ones need to be looked at more in depth. Right? So discover your rhythm, unveil your strategy. There's the other one. Tune into your stress style. And understand the symphony of your own nature. My dad used to call me symphony. Symphony of your own nature. Right? So conducting the orchestra of your life instead of just being played, right? Play your own tune, otherwise the environment will play you. So play your own unique song, dance to your own rhythm, and find the others, your partners and your people around you, your colleagues, finding their groove. Setting the stage for the performance of a lifetime. Okay, it's about to begin. So jump in and find that if you're interested and you want to have a chat with me. Let me just see if I can find the all right, so I think that's it for the live. There aren't any questions other than that one going deeper into the visual and tone, the styles, but it's not necessarily a full-on teaching today. Because I know I'm going to go there, and then we'll be here all day, and you can hear my voice. It's already going. I've been talking, been on calls today, so all right, we'll wrap it up there, and hopefully I'll catch up with some of you. If you're in Holistic Mystic, come over now. We're going over to our Zoom link. So let me just say ciao until we meet again. We've got Relevate on Friday, this Friday, for those of you in there. Oh, we've got the series going. I think the link's still there, spiritwhisperer.online. We're in day, what day are we in? 4? Day 4. Denise is on today. We had an awesome chat. Yeah, it's awesome. They're all over it. Anyway, Denise is today. Go and check her out, and let me know on Spirit Whisperer Facebook group what you thought, or you can send me an email. People have been sending emails, but it's easy to do on Facebook group. So there you go. You've got a couple of things to do. Jump on the call and jump on the Spirit Whisperer series. At the end of the series, we're having some training. So if you're getting the series, you're getting to the free training too. So, all right. May the blessings be.